We're going to be talking about our 5 predictions for Football Manager 2024 and what we think Sports Interactive are working on behind the scenes right now. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is an improvement to a specific position. So they've done this in a few previous installments of the game. They've talked about introducing new positions quite a lot. I think 2 years ago we had the new wide centre-back position, and I think actually this year they've kind of fixed that. So that's what I think they're going to do again. I think they're going to fix a few positions that are currently a bit underplayed and or just don't work. And I've got a different video over on the FM Immortal channel that talks about how advanced playmakers in this forward attacking midfield role are not as good as they used to be. And I think that they need to do a little bit more with advanced playmakers. So I don't know if you found a very good one who is just game breaking for you, but I'm yet to find a really good a good player in this position. And I think it's because when it comes to advanced playmakers specifically, they just aren't impactful on this game at all, and that's evidenced by the average rating of Bruakinsa here, who's he hasn't been at my club too long, but he's averaging a 6.66, as you can see on the screen. We did have Malero playing in this position, in this kind of weird asymmetrical 4-1-1-3-1. But yeah, Malero, who can play in this position, he's very competent there. He was just not getting the rating that he is getting when he's out on the wing, a 7.13 average, and he's just got a ridiculous number of assists this season. He's got 18 assists this season, which is pretty good going for February. But yeah, he's been on fire out there. But the advanced playmaker role and the attacking midfield role in general, for me, has been the weakest position on FM23. So my prediction is that FM24 will heighten this position, and I think they'll do so by adding in new instructions. So you'll all be familiar, I'm sure, with this instructions page for players specifically. Obviously when the opposition has ball instructions, probably doesn't need too much work there for an advanced playmaker. They're more defence oriented, but I think it's this, when the team has the ball, I think there is not enough here. So moving into channels, that will make players move into spaces, but I think there needs to be more in this position specifically for shaking a marker, and for strikers as well. I think there needs to be either a trait added to the game for players who can shirk the marking player, or something that says the timing of their run is different. So getting further forward is great, but it's arriving in the box at the right time which will set them apart and allow them to score goals and create more chances. So I think there's something that I think FM needs to add here. On a similar topic, and I'm not going to get into it in too much detail, I think they'll try and fix sweeper keepers because they've kind of been broken in this game. So one of my other videos talks about a tip for every position or core position in Football Manager, and the tip for goalkeeper is to not trust the sweeper keeper. Because it just means that their positioning is appalling. On occasion, even if they're the best keeper on the game, they will be caught with their trousers around their ankles and let in some ridiculous goals across the course of the season for you. So yeah, 2 things, but 1 point. They'll improve a few positions that are broken in FM23. The next point, and I'm going to stay on the tactics screen here, is set pieces. So we all know that these have been slightly neglected in recent instalments of Football Manager. Everyone's calling for it, and I think this year they'll hopefully deliver. I've got my fingers crossed. What really needs to happen here is 2 really, really simple things. So if you're watching Sports Interactive, what I think we all want is a list down the right side here of what position order you'd want players to take up. So if they're not on the pitch, who stands in as your front post sniper, who stands in as your marks the goalkeeper, who's on the back post, or who's attacking from the edge. All of those in the same way that we define our penalty takers, please. Now the other thing, I mentioned there are 2 things with set pieces. I think it would be good to have a timed order, so when the ball gets kicked in, players making different runs at different times will create all the more diversity in your set piece strategy. People put position on the front post, move first, people position on the back post, hold their position until that connection is made, and you could even then engineer a flick on to the back post and start having strategies that you'd see in the normal game of football in real life. But at the moment, it's just potluck as to what happens when that first ball is played in. So it's usually an attack it with the view to goal. But in real life, that wouldn't happen. You'd have people at the back post that try and cross it back in with a volley or a header, and then you attack it for the goal. And why that is lacking after how many instalments of Football Manager, it's beyond me. So I'm sure this is not going to be a unique call, but I think FM24 needs to have a slightly enhanced set-piece strategy. So number 3, a prediction for FM24, not necessarily something I'd want to see, but something that I can see creeping into the game more. I think we'll have more on-field antics from players. So you do see a little bit of it, but it's really, really rare. Oh, go on, Burak. So you see players, when they are told to waste time, they will go down and they will feign the injury, and then the stretcher will come on and you can see the seconds ticking away. But that's really, really, really few and far between on this game. I think we'll see more of the likes of diving, injury feigning, winding up opponents, winding up opposition fans as well. Maybe even taking your shirt off and getting booked after you've scored. These things can maybe be player traits rather than game engine things, but that's a bad goal to concede. But I think, FM24 needs a little bit more on the pitch nuance that can be brought from the kind of things that you'd see the dirtier players doing on the pitch, or the cleverer players, depending how you spin it. Feigning injury I'm going to call it, but it's really player antics. Number 4, and this is a big problem I think with the game, is the shouts from the touchline. I'm absolutely positive that everybody on the game is familiar with what the best shout is on Football Manager. It has been the best shout for about 5 years, and there really isn't anything else that you'd go to in times of need, like I am right now in my Valencia save, 1-0 down, and I need to encourage my players. So I hit encourage. I can do that probably 6 or 7 times a match, and it'll always have a positive effect. And it's so straightforward and so mind-numbing that it's getting a little bit boring now. And I think Football Manager need to make a bit more gamification about it, because there's just nothing to think about. Very rarely would I go to something like praise or berate, but I would do that. I do think that berate can work, but certainly, it's going to be encouraged for me 9 times out of 10. I'm just gonna shout. There we go. I'm greyed out at the moment. So I shouted 4 minutes ago, so that means I can't shout again now. Why is that the case? So FM24. I'd like to see more touchline shout options, but also more impact from things like focus, fire up, no pressure, demand more. Because at the moment it's an encourage managers game, and that's just about it. My 5th and final guess for FM24 in this video, it's nothing to do with the on match or the tactics page. It's actually that you can manage in the WSL, or manage women's teams in Football Manager 24. I think this has been coming for some time. It's obviously hit FIFA in the last couple of years as well, and I think it's about time as well. So women's football game has evolved immensely over the last 10 years, maybe longer, but it's grown to be a huge thing. If you follow a football club on Twitter, you follow not just the men's team but the women's team and the under 21s as well, or under 18s or whatever it may be. I think that's a real big thing that Football Manager needs to kind of revolutionise and get you more involved in lower level management at the club. So working your way through the under 17s, 18s, 19s, 20s, whatever it could be at your club, but also managing in the women's divisions as well, and the women's tournaments. So hopefully we'll get a bit more of a lens on international football in Football Manager 24 again. There's a couple of good reasons why I think it's coming this year, which I'll move on to right now. It is widely known that Sports Interactive have got one of the biggest scouting networks in the world, with available research roles in over 40 countries. And you can find this when you go to the sigames.com/careers website. You can also find open positions that are available at Sports Interactive, and this is where I first discovered nearly 2 years ago a number of freelance roles in the research department that was focused purely on women's football. Given that discovery was made in the pandemic, I could surmise that around 2.5 years later, you could expect a feature in the game to have been developed. So that is why I believe we are imminently going to be playing in the WSL on Football Manager. So those are my 5 predictions for FM24. What have I missed? Should they be working on improving the graphics? Is there a new feature that you would love to see in the next instalment of this game? Do let us know down in the comment. That's all we've got time for today though, guys. Until next time, adios.